Hey, this is Nick, and this is a quick walkthrough of the Hasty Ogre name service that I created for the City of Zion Decentralized Application competition. It's just a simple web application that can serve as a development sandbox when interacting with the NEO ecosystem, particularly with the smart contract that I wrote. Basically, what I did was I wrote a smart contract that has a name service attached to a coin. So this has its own coin called Hasty Ogre Name Service Token, or HANS, and I've already gone ahead and spun that up and I've deployed it, and I have my initial supply here. And basically, I have this UI to interact with the name service, so I'll kind of just demo it here. In this sandbox, what you can do is you can go ahead and create wallets, and you can create as many wallets as you want. And you can scroll down and see all the wallets here. You can also remove them. And one of the cool things is that it kind of uses your local cache as well. So if you refresh the page or close your browser and reopen it, it'll still be there. But please keep in mind that this is just a development sandbox, so these aren't real. You shouldn't be using your real private keys or anything, especially when you're registering them in here. If you're looking to clear it, you can just hit clear cache, and the next time you refresh, there won't be anything in here. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I already have a address that I'm going to import, and this is just the address that I use to set up the token. So as you can see here, this is the one from the private net. It has the 100 million NEO with about 7,000 gas, and as you can see, it has the initial supply here that was created for this account. So let me just kind of walk through the interface here. Let me just make another wallet so that we have another person to interact with. So in each of these, I guess you can call them wallets. We have our totals of gas, NEO, and HANS, and we also have a little area where we can exchange our NEO and gas for HANS tokens. This is kind of to mimic going through an ICO process, and people can submit their requests to the service or to the contract when they want to purchase the HANS tokens. For this specific release, I turned off all the KYC functionality, and I also made it so that in the initial offering of the coin, you can contribute as many times as you want. There is a limit per address, but because it's a development environment, you can create as many addresses as you want, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, let me just show you a quick demo here. So if I want to exchange one NEO, I can submit the request, and as you can see, it just sends a little confirmation that your request was sent. So one thing that's important to note if you happen to use this sandbox or just the blockchain in general is that when you submit these requests, they're at the mercy of block times. So just because you submit it doesn't mean that it's been processed yet, but you have to wait until the next block is processed for the transaction to go through and your amounts to be confirmed. So as you can see here, now we have one less NEO, and we've got our 400 HANS tokens. And you can do the same thing for gas as well. So while we wait for that to go, they take about roughly 25 seconds to go, depending on what time you catch the block at. But yeah, that's kind of something that you just need to be aware of. So let's go ahead down here a bit, and we have this little area. It's kind of just your traditional wallet here. You can take an address, you can put it in, and you can send this person something. So let's send this person 20 gas. Okay, so you sent a request to send to this address. Okay, so once the block goes, then we can see that the gas will be populated here. But as you can see, our previous transaction to convert one gas to 200 HANS has gone through. So now we have a total of 600 additional HANS. So we got 400 from NEO and 200 from gas. So let's wait for this to go through here. I guess while we're waiting, I can also go ahead and just talk about some of the other pieces of this service. So there's also, this is the main part of the application really, besides the wallet and there's a name service. So you can type in a name and search to see if it's available. Let's say I want to be called Fish. So look up Fish, it queries the blockchain and it says, hey, in the contract there's nobody yet named Fish. So you can submit your registration and confirm, and so that is going to be sent off. Okay, and now you can see that we have Fish that is now registered to this address. And to test this out, what we can do is, let me just make another wallet so we can scroll down a bit further. If I, for example, want to send money to someone named Fish, I can say Fish, lookup, and what it does is it looks it up in the smart contract, and it will then populate in your address so that you can quickly and efficiently send things to people without having to know what their actual address is. This is pretty common with other payment services like Venmo, and I think it would be super useful for Neo to have a service like this. So you can just tell someone what the name of that you want to be sent money at, and they can just send money to that address. Alright, so continuing on here, I sent a little bit more gas to this address. Let's see, now we can go ahead and we've done our lookup for Fish, and we have our address of a person above. You can send them back 1 gas. I think for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be cutting out the empty spaces where we're waiting for block times to go through. So just please keep that in mind when you're watching the video, that these transactions are about 1 block cycle, but for the purpose of the video, I'll cut them out. Okay, so as you can see, we have 1 less gas here, and we sent it to Fish, and so Fish now has that 1 additional gas. So what we want to do here is we want to demo trying to register a name for this person. So what we can do is we need to request some Hans. So we're going to contribute 20 gas, and then once the block clears, we should have our 4,000 Hans. Okay, and as you can see here, once the block cleared, we now have our 4,000 Hans, and we can see that our 20 gas was spent. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and register our own name. So let's take Bear, because Bear wasn't taken. We can register that now. Cool, and our transaction for our Bear name to be attached to our address has been gone through, and as you can see, there was a small fee deducted for the registration. This is to prevent people from just spamming and registering every name out there in the whole world and assigning it to their own addresses. So there's a small fee, 10 Han. It's kind of arbitrarily set for now. So a more interesting use case is, let's say that I want to get Fish onto this account. So what I can do is, it's a 2-part transfer. So the first part is going to set up the initial pre-approval for the request. So whether it's from the owner or from the requester, either one of them can do the first request, and that's going to set up the name record. That's kind of just a pre-approval record for the other person. And so you need to have both the sender and receivers both send transfer requests for that name. And once both of them have agreed to transfer the name, only then will it then be transferred to the new owner. This is to prevent people from just assigning names to other addresses at will, because as you can probably guess, people can send bad names or attach bad names to any address, and it's probably not something you want. So let's see. So the block is cleared, and now what I want to do is I want to have the requester put in their requests for Fish and look it up. Hey, this is already owned by that person, so I'm going to submit a request transfer. And you'll see here in a bit, once the block clears, the assignment of the name Fish should transfer over to this new address. Okay, and as you can see here, now we have Fish that got transferred from this first account to the second account. So once both accounts had submit their transfer requests, whether it be from the owner or the receiver, only then on the second of those 2 requests will the transfer go through. And similarly, if we decide, oh, actually nobody wants Fish, then you can go ahead and unregister. And so once the block clears, it should unregister Fish from this account, and it'll be freed up for anybody else on the network to claim. Cool. So as you can see, now Fish is unregistered from this name, and if I type in Fish, there's nothing that's going to come up. So that's it for the demonstration. This is kind of the light wallet. If you want to go check out the code for this, I have it up on GitHub under Nick Fujita Hasty Ogre name service. It's an open source project, and you can take a look at all the code. I have all the code for the web application in here, and it's mostly written in TypeScript, and then all the Python stuff is going to be the smart contract code for the name service. When you look through the name service code, it's going to look very similar to any of the ICO templates you see out there, with the exception of this name service file. And what I've kind of done to accommodate that is I've kind of built in the name service into this this token application, or this token contract. So it has all the standard routes that you have for operations that you would see in a Net5 token, except at the end here I've kind of added a subservice, where if you have a subservice operation in the name service invoke namespace, then it will redirect those requests into this module. So within that module, you can see that we have our transaction fees here, 10 for registration and 5 for each portion of the transfer, so 5 from the owner and 5 from the requester. And within here you can see we have our routing here for operations. So we have a query call. This will just return the address that's associated with the name that you're requesting. This helps to facilitate lookups. We have query address. This is typically done by the owner so that they can know what addresses or what names are mapped to their address. It's also fun to just look at what names are mapped to other people's addresses. We have the unregister link that allows you to unregister names from your address, as we saw in the demo. We have register, it associates the names with the addresses, and we have our transfer function. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about the implementation behind these in this video, but I will be making additional tutorial videos in more of a short form content type of format that goes over individual pieces of things that I've kind of learned through this process of creating this decentralized application, kind of the pros and the cons, and a lot of different things that helped me along the way. Hopefully they can help you when you're making your first application. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in another video.